Hello, it's Lexi at Cozy Tea Cafe over on Bookstagram. Today we're going to be going over an in-depth summary of the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. It is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So this is going to be an in-depth summary, so full of spoilers. If you continue watching, just know that you're going to get the entirety of the plot spoiled for you. So we start off right off the bat with Vincent, who is the king of the ACAJA vampires, and he comes across a small human child, and he calls her a serpent for trying to bite him and his warriors. He sees a little bit of himself in her and chooses to rescue her and take her home with him. The little girl, Araya, is now grown up, and we see her hunting vampires on the streets of the human districts within the House of Night. She visits an old woman named Alana, who is sort of like a mother figure to her, and she begs Alana to leave before the Kajari tournament, which Araya will be competing in, because she wants Alana to be safe. Araya sneaks back into her room, and her father, Vincent, tells her to start training. We see that he cares for her, but he has trained her to fight and protect herself against vampires for her whole life. Vincent has a powerful and rare vampire gift called ASTERIS, which allows him the power to instantly kill at full force. The ACAJA vampires have thin, bat-like wings, while the rival vampires, the Rishan, have thicker, feathered wings. The two clans have been battling for the throne of the House of Night since the goddess Nyaxia created them over 2,000 years ago. The Kajari is a once-in-a-century tribute to Nyaxia, and there are 5 trials over 4 months, and the winner receives a gift from Nyaxia herself. Vincent hosts a feast to welcome travelers to the House of Night for the Kajari, and vampires can eat all kinds of foods, but they need blood to survive. We learn that vampire families are cruel and will often kill their parents or siblings to become heir, and some families even cripple their children so they won't kill them. One of these is a vampire named Ibrahim, and Araya sees him at the feast. Araya also sees a man across the room looking at a painting of a Rishan man falling, and they lock eyes, but she's pulled away by her father before she can introduce herself. Vincent tells Araya that she doesn't have to compete in the tournament if she doesn't want to, and he sees her toying with a family ring and tells her that he would have looked for her parents if he could. He rescued her during a Rishan rebellion, which allowed him access to the village within the Rishan borders, but as king he can't just cross over into their borders unless there's an active war or a rebellion occurring. If Araya wins the Kajari, she'll ask Nyaxia to become Vincent's Coriatae, which is a legendary bond between two people, which would strip Araya of her humanity and allow Vincent's power to become her own. It is merging of the souls in a sense. So when Araya wakes up, she's in the Moon Palace and realizes that the Kajari has begun. Araya ascends a staircase and hears Alana's voice screaming as vampires feed on a pack of humans. She rushes up to save her, but a stranger stops her and tells her that they're already dead, and she will be too if she tries to go up there. She stabs him in the leg and runs to an empty greenhouse as the sun rises. Araya hides in the greenhouse as the sun rises because she'll be safe there from vampires in the daylight. The Moon Palace is rumored to change its layout, and Araya feels guided to this staircase. She enters a room and sees humans ripped to shreds and sees Alana is one of them. There is a sleeping vampire in the room, so Araya kills him in retribution for Alana's death, and then Araya takes a purple scarf from Alana's body and then burns her body. The participants are summoned to the first trial, and the minister, who is a sort of vessel for Nyaxia, is on the balcony wearing a sash with 3 sigils, a moon, a mask, and a weeping woman, the symbols of the 3 kingdoms of Nyaxia. They have a feast, and a vampire named Klein comes into the room screaming that someone killed his brother. Araya realizes that the man that she killed must have been his brother. Rain, who is the vampire that Araya saw the night before at the feast, and also the vampire she stabbed in the leg the night before, stands and makes a comment about Klein's brother. Klein accuses him of killing his brother, and they fight, but Rain uses ASTERIS to kill him. Vincent meets with Araya in secret outside of the Moon Palace and gives her some human medicine and 2 custom daggers that hold poison in their hilts. Rain confronts Araya and asks for an apology for stabbing him, but she refuses. He cracks a joke, which surprises her because vampires are usually very serious and solemn. Suddenly, the Moon Palace disappears, and all of the contestants appear in a coliseum with a cheering crowd looking on. Araya finds herself within a small glass dome, and she sees several other vampires with her, including Rain. There are several demons in the center of the ring, and she's unsure if the objective is to kill the demons, each other, or both. The bloodborne vampire uses his magic to send Araya tumbling into the demons, and she uses her poison daggers to attack the demons. Araya gets hit by an arrow, and all of the demons swarm her. Rain kills the demon on top of Araya, which allows her to stab another demon through the heart. Once the demons are all dead, an archway appears at the end of the enclosure. Araya sees Rain's friend fighting in the other ring, wielding fire, whose magic is the domain of ATROXUS, the sun god and a member of the White Pantheon, and one of Nyaxia's greatest enemies. Araya is shocked to see that a vampire is allowed to wield sunfire from ATROXUS, since they're enemies. They exit the arena, and Araya tends to her wounds. She only has enough medicine for one of her wounds, so she chooses the one on her side and hopes Vincent will meet her tonight with more medicine. Rain shows up and offers her medicine and asks her to ally with him and his friend Misha for the Half Moon trial. She asks him why, and he says because he underestimated her, he wants protection from Vincent, and says she'll be easy to kill after the allying trial is over. She originally says no, but he tells her that her scent is all over the Moon Palace and will lead enemies right to her, and tells her where to find him if she changes her mind. Araya goes to meet Vincent at their secret location, but he doesn't show up. She's eating in the palace when a vampire attacks her, and she pulls him into the greenhouse, which harms him in the sunlight, but he's too crazed with bloodlust to notice. She stabs the vampire through the heart, but notices that she has a stomach wound. When she turns around, the palace has shifted and a staircase in front of her leads her to Rain. Araya recounts that when she was younger, she would ask Vincent to turn her into a vampire so she would be strong enough to search for her family, but 2 out of 3 turnings end in death, so he would never do it for her. Araya wakes up and officially meets Misha, who is very outgoing and bubbly for a vampire. Rain gives her the head of the vampire who attacked her and shows her that the vampire was cursed like all other bloodborne vampires eventually are. Araya asks Misha about her sunfire power, and she says it's possible for vampires to wield power from outside of Nyaxia's domain if they have the right talents. Araya reveals that she has wielded very small magic in the past. A vampire named Angelica bangs on the door looking for Rain, and they brawl while she demands to know where he is, presumably the dead vampire that attacked Araya. Rain says that he was too far gone with the curse and says that he attacked Araya in broad daylight, which makes Angelica pause and listen. She leaves, and Rain tells Araya to watch out for her. Araya and Vincent meet in secret again, and he reprimands her for allying with a Rishon vampire and tells her to watch her back. Rain and Araya start training together for the next trial, and he yells at her for holding back. Rain starts to taunt her, and Araya pushes his chest, and a blast of magic erupts and throws him across the room. Rain then confronts Araya about hiding this power that she has, and she's too stubborn to reveal that she didn't actually know that she had this power, so they fight and Rain leaves. Misha tells Araya that Rain is her best friend and says he's guarded because he's had his heart broken in the past. They talk about Nyaxia's past and how she was the child of a lesser deity in the White Pantheon, but she took back her power to become a goddess herself. Her husband, the god ALARUS, was killed by the other gods for marrying her. They begin the second trial, and Araya makes her way down a long corridor and loses sight of Rain and Misha. She finds Ibrahim, a vampire who is crippled and disfigured by his parents, and sees that they're in a maze which mimics Nyaxia's journey to the underworld. The 2 of them come up on a massive door with a large stone in front that acts as a lever to open the door when weight is applied. They realize that one of them will have to kill the other to provide weight for the stone so the other can travel through the door. Ibrahim attacks Araya with magic, and she dodges it and stabs him with the poison dagger, and he tells her that he always liked her. The walls start crumbling and shifting around them, and Araya runs into Coriatae, a shadowborn vampire, and Araya stabs her in the throat as Coriatae tries to use magic on Araya's mind. Araya sees that the vampires have been feasting on humans in the maze, and she rescues a small human child as Rain finds her again. Angelica uses blood magic on Araya and then stabs her in the side. As Araya is about to lose consciousness, she tells Rain to protect the little girl. Araya wakes up days later, and she's completely healed. 11 died in the trial, but Ibrahim somehow made it through alive. Araya sneaks off into the human districts to blow off steam by killing vampires, and Rain finds her there. Araya asks about the little girl, and Rain brings her to an orphanage where she sees the little girl safe inside. Araya says that Rain's respect for human life is suspicious, and he tells her that he was human and was turned into a vampire. Araya meets with Vincent and confronts him about the humans in that trial, and he says that there was nothing that he could do. She tells him about her burst of magic, and he says that when she gave her blood to Nyaxia for the trial, Nyaxia must have recognized her offering and given her some magic. Rain and Araya begin training in the human districts for the Half Moon trial, while Araya starts training her magic with Misha, and Araya finds that she's actually enjoying it. After training in the human districts, Rain takes Araya out for a beer, and he's shocked to learn that she's never spent time with the humans in the districts. Araya was always taught that vampires couldn't control themselves around humans, so she's shocked that he's not worried about losing his self-control. Rain asks her why she never left to go to the human nations, and she says that her home is here. The floor begins to shake as an explosion goes off in the distance. They go outside and see the Moon Palace smoking, with an entire tower of the palace now gone. Rain grabs Araya and flies with her to find Misha. They find Misha passed out in the tower apartment with demons surrounding her and Nightfire burning the room. Rain uses his ASTERIS to kill the demons, and they see that Misha's stomach is ripped open. Rain flies Misha down first and plans to come back for Araya, but the Nightfire is closing in fast as more demons arrive. Araya is injured but feels something shift inside of her and unleashes a power that kills all 4 demons. Rain grabs her and they see Vincent's army ready for battle. Days later, the fire is extinguished and they're told that the Kajari will continue. Many contestants are badly injured and they have to submit withdrawals from the competition, but Misha is still unconscious from her injuries, so Rain and Araya have to do it on her behalf. Vincent's general, Jasmine, enters their room and tells Rain that he's being summoned by the king, along with the other Rishon and Bloodborn contestants. Jasmine says he'll be back before the Half Moon trial, and Araya promises to look after Misha. Jasmine gives them a letter from the minister rejecting Misha's withdrawal request. Misha wakes up delirious and says that she called and he didn't answer, and Araya assumes that she's talking about Rain. Araya meets with Vincent and he confirms the attack was Rishon, but says it's a blessing in disguise because he's been waiting for an opening to wipe them out for good. Araya asks if there's anything that Vincent can do about her ally's withdrawal being rejected, and he tells her to kill Misha before the trial. He promises to give her her other ally, Rain, back before the trial. Araya doesn't want to kill Misha and doesn't want to tell Vincent this, so she meets with the minister about Misha's withdrawal, and he says that she could try a blood offering, so she offers her own blood to the minister. Araya wakes up and sees Rain by Misha's side, and she's still crying that she called for him and he didn't answer. Rain says that Misha was calling for ATROXUS after her magic failed her, and he didn't answer her. She was a priestess of ATROXUS before she was turned, which is why she can wield his power at all. Every time she wields it after she's been turned, it burns her. Once Misha's withdrawal is accepted, Rain takes her somewhere safe. The contestants are summoned to the 3rd trial, and acolytes bring them goblets to drink out of. After drinking the potion, Araya and Rain's minds are merged, and they're placed in a cell to signify Nyaxia and her husband ALARUS' imprisonment by the White Pantheon. They open the cell and see demons and monsters wreaking havoc. As they're fighting other contestants, they realize that if a contestant is wounded, their partner feels it, so Araya goes after the partners of Rain's attackers, and then she is swarmed by a pack of demons. Araya hears Rain's voice in her head, telling her to use magic, and she explodes with Nightfire, destroying the monsters and killing some of the contestants. Rain runs to her and hugs her in front of the entire arena, and Vincent is looking at them shocked. We see a flashback of Araya and her first love, a turned vampire, and when they sleep together for the first time, he goes into a frenzy and almost kills her, so she runs to Vincent. After the 3rd trial, 11 contestants remain. Araya and Rain don't know where this leaves them because they don't need to ally anymore. There's a feast that night, and the palace gives Araya all she needs to get ready, including a ball gown made from the same fabric as Alana's scarf. Araya dances with Vincent at the feast, and he tells her that he's proud of her, and it seems like he's choked up. Araya sees Angelica, Ivan, and a man she met earlier by the river all huddled around each other. The man introduces himself as Septimus, a prince of the House of Blood. The House of Blood was once Nyaxia's favorite, but she cursed them after they turned against her in a squabble. Rain shows up and Septimus mentions someone named Nesnine, which makes Rain flinch. Rain warns Araya to be careful around him and says that he's dangerous. Rain and Araya wander off alone, and she wonders if this is when he'll kill her. He puts himself in a vulnerable position, and he asks her if she's going to kill him, but she says no, and there is clearly some romantic tension. Rain and Araya continue to stay together in the palace apartment, and neither of them attempt to kill each other. Rain goes to visit Misha, and Araya asks to join. They arrive at a cottage, and Rain introduces Araya to Carissa and Keturah. Araya overhears Rain talking to the pair, and they say that Araya shouldn't be there. They reveal that Vincent has destroyed multiple Rishon cities and urge Rain not to associate with her. Rain says that Araya is a friend and tells him not to talk poorly about her. They leave, and Araya tells Rain that she's from Salonay and Rishon, and she'd like to go back one day to see if she has any family left. Back at the palace, they find the doors locked from the outside, and they can't leave. They worry that vampires will get hungry and come looking for Araya, so they barricade themselves inside, and Rain assures Araya that he has enough blood stored. After nearly 3 weeks, Araya sees Rain drink the last of his blood and notice hunger setting in. Araya says that they shouldn't stay together anymore, and Rain leaves. Araya wakes up in a forest and realizes the 4th trial, the Crescent Moon trial, has started. She sees vampires feeding on poisoned deer, which makes them feral and causes them to tear each other apart. She runs for Rain to try to warn him and finds him in bloodlust, and he attacks her. She gets him to snap out of it, and he comes back to his senses. They take shelter in a cave, and Araya sees that Rain is injured and starving. All of the food is poisoned, so she offers her blood to him, but he refuses and caresses the scar on her neck from her old lover. She tells him that she's not afraid, and she offers her throat, and he drinks from her until he's no longer starving. Vampire venom acts as both a sedative and increases arousal, so the moment becomes intimate between the two of them. They wake up and try to figure out a way to complete the trial while avoiding the poisoned mist. Rain goes back to the body of a Shadowborn contestant he killed the night before and gets a cloak made of Vathrian silk, which filters out toxins. He carries Araya and puts the cloak over them both as they travel through the mist in 90-second intervals. About halfway through, they get attacked by wolves, and Rain gets bitten while part of his wing is injured by the mist. When they get to the top of the landscape, Rain realizes that they're in Salonay, and Araya sees that Vincent has completely destroyed the city and spared no one, meaning that she has no family left behind there. Ivan and Angelica attack them, and Rain grabs Ivan. Angelica threatens to kill Araya if Rain doesn't let Ivan go, and says Araya will be another Nezanine. Rain throws Ivan over the cliff and flies away with Araya into the gate at the end of the trial. They see Ibrahim made it through the trial, but his wings are destroyed. The minister tells them that they advanced to the final trial, and it will take place tomorrow instead of the typical 3 weeks, because there's no guarantee that the city of Sivernage will survive that long with the current war raging. They look out and see countless bodies lining the city walls with their Rishon wings staked below. In another flashback, we see that after Araya was attacked by her lover, Vincent made her kill him, marking her first kill. Angelica makes it through the gate and becomes the 4th and final contestant to make it through. Rain heals Araya's wounds with medicine, and he calls her father a monster. When trying to defend him, she lets it slip that if she wins, she'll ask Nyaxia for a CORIATIS bond. Rain says that Vincent has been stealing humans and resources from Salonay for over 20 years, and he could have saved her family at any time, and calls her naive for not seeing his motives for sending her into the Kajari. Araya storms out and goes to meet her father at his palace. Araya confronts Vincent, and he shows her a room of vampires feasting on humans, and he says that she'll never be like them. Araya says she's ashamed to be his daughter, and in his rage he grabs her and hurts her. After realizing that he's hurt her, he looks appalled and he backs away. She runs out and starts killing vampires in the human districts before Rain finds her and kisses her. Rain flies them both back to the Moon Palace, and they sleep together. Rain tells Araya the story of when he was turned. He was dying after being caught in a storm, and a powerful vampire asked if he wanted to live. The vampire turned him, and instead of sending him back to his wife and unborn child, he kept him as a slave and made him do things, presumably sexual acts. The vampire died, and Rain reveals that Nezanine was the vampire's wife, another prisoner just like him. He fell in love with Nezanine, and when they had the opportunity to escape, Nezanine refused to go with him. When he did finally escape, it had been 70 years since he was turned, so he didn't go looking for his wife or child because he was ashamed. He worked as a guard and traveled the world before he found Misha, who he loved like a sister. Misha joined the Kajari because she knew that Rain needed something desperately, but wouldn't do it on his own. Araya begins to doubt herself and considers withdrawing from the tournament, but Rain tells her that she needs to keep fighting. The New Moon trial starts, and Araya enters into a stadium packed full of people. A line of fire cuts the arena in half, and there are 3 figures with glowing eyes, and Araya realizes that they are mimicries of the gods. ATROXUS, the god of the sun and the king of the White Pantheon, Ix, god of sex and fertility, and Kashmar, god of seduction, art, beauty, and music. She fights the god and realizes that they are corpses of the other fallen contestants. Striking them down doesn't kill them because they're already dead, so she uses her Nightfire to dismember their bodies. A door opens up to another part of the arena, and Ibrahim attacks Araya from behind. She sees that he's slow and close to death, and the crowd is laughing at him. Araya tells him to keep fighting so she can give him an honorable death, and he says that he was glad it was her before she kills him. The next door opens, and Rain and Angelica emerge, and the fighting starts. Rain nods up to the crowd, and Araya sees that Angelica is briefly distracted by something in the crowd, allowing Araya to stab her through the heart. Rain baits Araya into attacking him with all of her strength, and she stabs him through the heart, killing him. Araya is named the victor of the Kajari, and Nyaxia materializes. Nyaxia asks Araya what she wants as her gift, and Araya wishes that Rain had won. Rain is suddenly alive, and he says that 200 years ago, the victor wished that the power of the Rishon Nightborn king would be sealed away, and he asks for it to be restored to himself, the Rishon heir. House of Blood soldiers begin pouring into the arena, and Rain flies to Vincent and pins him to the wall. He tells Vincent that when he killed all of the Rishon heirs, he missed one. Both Rain and Vincent look at Araya, and Rain tells her to look away as he kills Vincent. Vincent falls, and Araya runs to him. He's barely alive, but he tells her he's sorry and that he loves her as he dies. Araya is consumed by her Nightfire power as she grieves, and Rain pulls her away. When the flames subside, they see an air mark on her throat, exactly where Vincent's was. Carissa tells Rain to kill her as Couture and the other Rishon soldiers pull their weapons. Rain tells them that he will not kill her, he'll take her as his wife and make sure she feels pain to atone for Vincent's cruelty. Rain takes Araya away and apologizes, saying that he said all of that to keep her alive. The man who turned him was the former Rishon king, Nekulai Viserys, who was usurped and killed by Vincent. Rain says that he betrayed the king and used an alias to secretly arrange for Vincent to destroy the kingdom in exchange for the safety of the innocents. Rain got out before Nekulai could find out what he did, and he trusted Vincent, but instead of following through with their plan, Vincent killed everyone, including the innocents, and then raped and killed Nezanin last. Rain didn't realize that he had the air mark until he was far away and never knew that it was possible. He assumed it came to him in the absence of a blood heir, since he was turned by Nekulai directly. He ran away because he didn't want the power, but eventually realized that there were innocent people who needed him to rise up and help them. Vincent had killed off a lot of the Rishon population over the years, so Rain had to ally with the House of Blood to get more manpower. He originally denied Septimus's aid, but after the attacks on the Moon Palace were blamed on the Rishon, he had no other choice but to ask for help. The nod he gave to the stands in the last trial was to Septimus, expecting not to survive for long enough to uphold his end of the bargain. Rain says that he was willing to let his kingdom fall for her, and says that she should have let him stay dead. Rain asks Araya if she knew she was Vincent's heir, and she says she didn't think it was possible because she's human. Rain says that she could be half human, which would make her Vincent's biological daughter. Rain says that they'll have to get married because if she isn't his wife, she's his enemy. A priestess performs the marriage ceremony right away, and Araya is left alone in her room. Jasmine knocks on her window and says their army is regrouping outside the city, and they look to her as their queen for commands. She tells them to retreat for now and stay safe while she learns more information. Jasmine says many won't accept her as ruler, but the Rishon don't want to accept Rain either because he's turned and abandoned them for centuries. She tells Araya to find her if she wants to fight. So that is where book 1 ends. It continues on in the next book. The series is scheduled to be 6 books, I believe, which are 3 sets of duologies. So the first duology is Rain and Araya's story, the Nightborn Duology, and then the second duology is Misha's story. It's the Shadowborn Duology, and then the third duology is the Bloodborn Duology, and I don't think we know anything about that yet. So the 4th book comes out August 5th. I will try to post summaries for the first 3 books as well as the novella 6 Scorched Roses before August 5th, so stick with me there. Additionally, there is a really good glossary that's at the end of the book that I'm going to post in the description. It goes over all of the gods and goddesses, the different houses. I had a little bit of a struggle in this book kind of keeping track of everything because it's not really explicitly stated anywhere. It's just kind of peppered in throughout the story. So if anything was unclear in this summary video, refer to the glossary, and that'll hopefully clear things up for you. So if you have any other recommendations for books that I summarize, just leave me a comment, and I hope you enjoyed this video.